Welcome to Domain 2 video of the CISSP practice questions and answers. In this exam, there are going to be 8 domains which borders on various aspects like asset security, software development security, security operations, and the likes of it. Now for this exam, remember, each of the domains will have a percentage of the questions coming from them. For domain 2, 10% of the questions on the exam will be coming from questions bordering on asset security. So let's dive right in. Question 1. Which of the following security controls is the most effective in preventing the execution of malicious code from untrusted sources? Option A, intrusion detection. Option A, intrusion prevention system. Option B, antivirus software. C, application whitelisting. D, host-based firewall. The correct answer here would be option C. This is because application whitelisting is a security measure that allows only the approved and trusted applications to get executed on the system while blocking out the others. Now, it creates a list of authorized applications and denies execution permission for any application that is unauthorized. It effectively prevents the execution of malicious code from untrusted sources. Question 2. Which type of media sanitization process involves the removal of sensitive data from a storage device or system with the intent that the data cannot be reconstructed by any known technique? A, destruction. B, purging. C, crypto shredding. D, clearing. The answer is option B, purging. Purging involves overwriting the entire storage space with random data patterns or using specialized sanitization algorithms to ensure that the original data cannot be recovered. Question 3. What is the primary concern when it comes to data security and compliance in the context of cloud computing? A, data encryption during transmission. B, physical security of the cloud provider's data centers. C, data sovereignty and legal jurisdiction. D, multi-factor authentication for cloud users. The answer here is option C. Data sovereignty refers to the concept where the data is subject to the laws and regulations of the country or the region in which it is located. Organizations may have concerns about where they physically store their data and process it, but as different countries have different regulations, the data is subject to the laws and regulations of the country or region where it is located. Question 4. You work for a multinational corporation that relies heavily on third-party vendors for various services who have access to your company's sensitive data. What steps should you take to ensure the security of your organization's assets when dealing with third-party vendors? A, rely on the vendor security certifications and assume they have robust security controls in place. B, conduct a comprehensive risk analysis for each vendor, establish contractual security requirements, and perform regular audits. C, limit third-party access to non-sensitive data only. D, share sensitive data freely with vendors. The answer is option B. Now, for this, when dealing with third-party vendors that have access to sensitive data, it is really important to assess the risks associated with their services. And this involves conducting a thorough risk assessment in order to understand the potential vulnerabilities and threats. Option A is risky because certifications may not provide a complete picture of the vendor's security posture. Option C, which is to limit third-party access, is overly restrictive and it may not be practical. Of course, option D is definitely not recommended because it doesn't consider the security controls. So, by establishing contractual security requirements, it will ensure that the vendors adhere to specific security standards and practices in order to protect your organization's assets. Question 5. Which of the following is the primary objective of data classification within an organization? A. To determine appropriate handling and allocate necessary security to manage data. B. To ensure data is only stored on cloud platforms. C. To enable data deduplication and optimize the organization's data storage capacity. D. To assign monetary value to data and determine the cost of storing and processing data. The answer here is option A. Data classification involves categorizing data based on its sensitivity, confidentiality, and importance in order to determine how it should be handled, stored, and protected. Now, this helps organizations to implement appropriate security measures in order to safeguard sensitive information and to allocate their resources effectively based on the level of risk associated with each category of data. Question 6. Given the CVE 2023-12345 with a CVSS v3 base score of 9.8, which of the following is the most likely true about the vulnerability? A. The vulnerability is of low severity and poses a minimal threat. B. The vulnerability requires complex conditions to be exploited. C. The vulnerability is of critical severity and poses significant potential harm. D. The vulnerability's impact is primarily related to data confidentiality. The answer here is option C. The CVSS v3 base score usually ranges from 0.0 to 10.0, and anything with a high value obviously indicates a higher severity. In this case, a base score of 9.8 indicates a critical severity vulnerability, and it typically has a high likelihood of exploitation, which could result in severe consequences like unauthorized access, data breaches, or system compromise. Question 7. As the Chief Information Security Officer, CISO, of a financial institution which processes sensitive financial data and customer information, what steps should you take to establish an effective asset management program after a need for a robust asset management program was discovered during a security audit? A. Increase the security budget to purchase advanced intrusion detection systems. B. Conduct an inventory of all information assets, classify them, and assign ownership. C. Hire a third-party audit firm to perform annual audits. D. Implement encryption on all sensitive data. Now, if we look at this, option A, C, and D does not address asset management directly. So the correct answer here will be option B, which is to conduct an inventory of all the information assets, classify them, and assign ownership. Asset management involves identifying, classifying, and managing all information assets within an organization. By conducting an inventory, you're able to classify the assets, assign ownership, and the organization will be able to get better control over its assets and implement appropriate security measures to protect the sensitive financial data and customer information. Question 8. You are a security consultant working for a financial institution. The organization is planning to retire an old server containing sensitive customer data. What steps should the organization take to ensure the secure retirement of these assets? A. Sell the server to a third-party company without any further action. B. Physically destroy the server and dispose of the pieces in a landfill. C. Perform a data wipe to remove all the data. Conduct a secure deletion of the operating system and donate the server to a local school. D. Remove the hard drive and keep in a store closet just in case it is needed in the future. Now, if we take a look at these options, for option A, selling the server without securely wiping the data poses a significant risk of data exposure, and it could lead to data breaches or misuse. If we look at option B, it might seem like a secure method of data disposal. However, it is not environmentally friendly, and it may not be necessary if the data can be effectively wiped from the storage devices. For option D, keeping the hard drive without securely wiping the data does not mitigate the risk of data exposure. This is because it could even be exposed to theft, and if anybody has access to that hard drive, they'll be able to gain access to view the sensitive customer data. So the correct answer here is option C. Before donating the server, however, the organization should ensure that the local school has the necessary infrastructure and security measures in place to handle the donated equipment responsibly and to protect it from any residual data effectively. Question 9. Which of the following security controls is the most effective in preventing a malware infection from malicious email attachments? A. Email content filtering. B. Host-based firewall. C. Patch management. D. Intrusion prevention system. The answer here is option A. Email content filtering blocks malicious contents before they even reach the recipient's inbox. It does this by scanning all incoming emails and attachments for known malware signatures, suspicious patterns, or other indicators of malicious content. Email content filtering can even effectively prevent users from being exposed to harmful attachments. Question 10. Which statement accurately describes end-to-end encryption? A. End-to-end encryption is performed by an external entity. B. Data is encrypted in the middle of the communications channel. C. The data remains encrypted until they are decrypted at the remote end. D. The routing information is encrypted along with the data. For this case, end-to-end encryption ensures that the data is encrypted at the source, which is the sender, and remains encrypted throughout its transmission until it reaches the intended destination, which is the receiver. So in this case, the correct answer will be option C. Now, only the intended recipient possesses the necessary decryption keys to decrypt and access the original data. This means that even if the data is intercepted during transmission, it will remain unintelligible to the unauthorized parties. Question 11. Which of the following security controls is most effective in preventing unauthorized access to sensitive data stored on a mobile device that may be lost or stolen? A. Storing data in a secure cloud environment. B. Strong encryption of the data. C. Implementing biometric authentication. D. Regularly updating device firmware. Now, first of all, encryption ensures that if the device falls into the wrong hands, the data will remain protected and unreadable without the proper encryption key. So in this case, the answer is option B. Encryption helps to protect the confidentiality and integrity of the data, even if the device gets lost or is stolen, because before you're able to have access to the data, you need to have the proper encryption key. Question 12. Which of the following best captures the primary intent of GDPR? Option A. Streamlining and updating legacy EU privacy regulations. Option B. Encouraging international businesses to operate within the EU. C. Protecting the fundamental right to data privacy of EU residents. D. Ensuring EU citizens can shop online securely. The answer here is option C. The primary intent of the GDPR is to protect the fundamental right to privacy of EU residents. It aims to enhance and harmonize data protection regulations across the European Union and Also, it introduces strict requirements for the organizations that are handling personal data, such as obtaining explicit consent for data processing, implementing robust security measures, and providing individuals with greater control over their personal data. 13. Why is data remnants considered a security concern? A. It results in a slow data access speed. B. Residual data might be recoverable after deletion or disk wipe. C. It can lead to data being corrupted over time. D. It increases the storage cost of an organization. The answer here is option B. Data remnants is the residual data that remains on a storage device even after attempts has been made to delete or wipe it. This residual data can potentially be recovered using specialized techniques, and this poses a risk of unauthorized access to sensitive information. Now, if residual data is not properly erased, it can be recovered using special tools and techniques. Therefore, it undermines data privacy and confidentiality efforts, making it a significant security concern for organizations handling sensitive data. Question 14. Which of the following is the least effective method of data deletion and may allow data to be recovered with special software? A. Furnishing. B. Destroying. C. Clearing. D. Purging. Now, if we look at the options, furnishing, destroying, purging, these typically involved a more thorough method of data deletion that overwrites the data, making it more difficult or impossible to recover. Reading the question, the correct answer here would be option C. Option C is the least effective method of data deletion, and data may be recovered using special software. Furnishing, destroying, and purging involves more thorough methods of data deletion. So in that case, it will be impossible to recover the data. So for the least effective method, that will be clearing. For clearing, it just involves deleting the files or formatting the storage media, and this does not necessarily overwrite the data. As a result, the remnants of the data may still remain on the storage device and can be recovered using special data recovery tools. Question 15. In a tokenization system, what distinguishes a token from the original sensitive data it represents? A. The token must be reversible to the original data without any additional information. B. The token contains encrypted segments of the original data. C. The token is always longer than the original data. D. The token on its own has no meaningful value. First of all, we have to understand that a token is a placeholder or a surrogate for the original sensitive data. Therefore, since it's a placeholder, it doesn't really contain any meaningful information that can be used to reconstruct the original data. So in this case, the answer will be option D. Question 16. You are the information security manager of a healthcare organization. The organization stores vast amounts of electronic health records. A recent incident involved an unauthorized employee accessing patient records. What steps should you take to protect EHRs, which are electronic health records, and prevent such incidents in the future? A. Implement role-based access control, encrypt EHRs, and regularly review access logs. B. Train employees on the importance of EHR security and hope the incident will not reoccur. C. Purchase advanced intrusion detection systems to monitor EHR access continuously. D. Lock down the data center to prevent physical access to EHR server. In this scenario, we are dealing with the protection of electronic health records, so role-based access control should be implemented to ensure that only the authorized personnel can access the record. For option B, training the employees is not sufficient enough on its own. And for option C, intrusion detection does not necessarily cover access control and encryption. Option D focuses on only the physical security and does not address the electronic data protection. So in this case, the correct answer will be option A. Question 17. Which data security processing technique is recommended under the GDPR to reduce the risk to data subjects and help the data controller meet their data protection obligations by transforming personal data in a way that the resulting data cannot be attributed to a specific data subject without the use of additional information? A. Encryption. Original data is transformed using a cryptographic algorithm. B. Tokenization. Original data is replaced with non-sensitive placeholders. C. Pseudonymization. Original data is processed and resulting data cannot be attributed to a specific data subject without the use of additional information. D. Anonymization. Original data is processed in a way it can never be used to identify the individual. If we read the question carefully, the answer will already be obvious. But let's go through the options. For option A, while encryption protects data, it does not necessarily prevent attribution to specific individuals without additional information. For option B, it just replaces sensitive data with non-sensitive placeholders, but it doesn't prevent re-identification. Option D irreversibly transforms the data so that it can never be used to identify the individual, but it may not be suitable for all data processing scenarios, and it may even limit the utility of the data for certain purposes. So in this case, the answer is option C. Pseudonymization involves replacing identifying information in a dataset with artificial identifiers or pseudonyms, thereby reducing the likability of the data to specific individuals without additional contextual information. Question 18. As the Chief Information Security Officer of a financial institution that just acquired a smaller bank, you need to assess the risk associated with integrating their IT systems and assets. What steps should you take to manage asset security during the integration? A. Immediately merge all IT systems to simplify management. B. Ignore the integration process and focus solely on the existing system security. C. Outsource the integration to a third-party provider and wash your hands of the responsibility. D. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment of both organizations' assets, prioritize protection, and establish a secure integration plan. The answer here is option D. When integrating IT systems and assets from different organizations, it is crucial to conduct a risk assessment to identify the potential security vulnerabilities and prioritize the protection efforts. Question 19. You work for a sizable e-commerce company as the information security officer. A bring your own device policy was recently implemented by your company to permit staff members to use their own devices for work. In the current bring your own device world, what security precautions should you take to safeguard the company's resources and information? A. Implement mobile device management software. Enforce strong authentication and encrypt company data on the devices. B. Block access to company resources from all personal devices. C. Require employees to sign a document promising not to misuse company data or their personal devices. D. Disable all external storage access on employee device. Now, if we look at the options, the correct answer here would be option A. In order to safeguard company resource and information, you need to implement mobile device management software and enforce strong authentication while encrypting company data on the devices. It is crucial to implement these security measures in order to protect the company's assets. With the mobile device management software, you can enforce security policies such as device encryption, passcode requirements, and you can even remotely wipe data from the devices, thus ensuring that the devices accessing company resources meet the security standards. Question 20. A company has implemented an information classification scheme to categorize its data based on sensitivity. Which of the following data classifications typically requires the highest level of protection and access control? A. Public. B. Internal. C. Confidential. D. Restricted. The answer here will be option D. Restricted data classification is used for highly sensitive information that is highly regulated or poses a significant risk if it is disclosed. This data can be trade secrets, sensitive financial data, or classified government information. Access to restricted data should be strictly controlled with stringent access controls and encryption measures in place in order to ensure its confidentiality and integrity. This brings us to the end of the video for domain 2. Don't forget to subscribe and also hit the notification bell in order to watch more videos. Thank you.